Good evening, KZFR. This is Writing on Air. Writing on Air is made possible by the generous contributions of KZFR supporters and by Chico Performances, celebrating St. Paddy's Day with a performance by the Irish supergroup Dervish. Hailing direct from Ireland, Dervish performs authentic Irish music, complete with fiddles, flutes, accordions, and more. Catch Dervish on Saturday, March 18th at 7:30 p.m. in Laxon Auditorium. That is at Chico State. More information and tickets can be found at chicoperformances.com. Well, hello everyone again. My name is Kevin, and I am the host of Writing on Air, and I'm here with my co-host, Kylene.
Hi, Kevin. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. I have a little bit of a cold or allergies, so...
It's going around. I've been, all my roommates have got it. Everyone that I've talked to have got it. It's been going around for sure. Well, this is Writing on Air, and it is a show designed to basically give writers a stage of sorts to submit pieces, short stories, flash fiction, poetry, haikus, to be read, paired with music, and then a little bit of discussion on our part. So just kind of a fun time all around, I think, for everyone.
Yeah, if you'd like to submit, please submit to write, that's WRITE, write.onair@gmail.com, and we'd love to read some of your work.
Yes, without those submissions, the show is really hard to do. So please do submit. We work with you on pretty much anything. Their requirements are pretty loose. No cussing, no advertising, because this is a not-for-profit radio station, and I like to keep my radio programmer certificate. So we can work with you on anything, any format, and actually coming up in the future, we have some pretty interesting creative pieces and some creative twists. So we're open to pretty much anything. So please do submit. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the pieces. I believe our first piece is by Anastasia Kellogg. Am I right?
That is correct.
All right. This one is called Secondhand. And actually, she gave us some background for this piece. It was read at a poetry reading at her old school. So it was read to students and faculty, which basically means she's already famous. So just want to throw that out there. And the poetry reading that she took part of was called Poetry Under the Stars. So should be a pretty good piece. I'm looking forward to this. So again, what's the title?
This is called Secondhand. They say you can tell a lot about a woman by her shoes, if they are heels, for example. You can tell that she isn't one to do a lot of walking. And if they're plain, you can tell that she's down to earth. And if the toe box is wrong shape, you can tell that she's okay with constructing little cages. And if the arches offer no supports because they're loyal ties with someone else, and you know that soles are grayed and scarred, hers and the shoes, and you can tell that her blisters are battle wounds. And if the dimples and the dents on her inner lining don't match up with where her bones fall with every strike of the ground, then you know they're not her own shoes, and she's not walking on her own roads. And when two things don't fit, one has to bend, and you know it's not going to be the shoes, and you can tell that they're breaking her in, and you know what kind of woman she is.
That was Secondhand by Anastasia Kellogg. Man, I like that piece.
I do too.
Do you want to start?
Actually, go ahead.
All right.
Yeah.
So, man, there's a lot about this song.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I mean, if we're going to go by the title, titles usually make a poem. And if we're talking about secondhand, a lot of the discussion is secondhand wearing somebody else's shoes, like if you get a pair of shoes secondhand. And that's a great metaphor for walking a mile in the shoes, someone else's shoes. And that's kind of a way of talking about what it's like to be a woman. There's this statement that they talk about, if the toe box is the wrong shape, you can tell. And a toe box, obviously, it's where the toe goes. And there's this idea, you can tell when someone's uncomfortable, especially. It seems she's leaning more towards women in the sense of talking about what it means to be a woman. The idea of this toe box being too small, it's okay that she's okay with constructing little cages.
Mm.
As a female, we adjust, we work with what we have. And while that toe box is of the wrong shape, she will keep going. And if the arches offer no support, it's because their loyalty lies with someone else.
Yep.
Wow.
And blisters are battle wounds.
Yes, battle wounds. I mean, obviously, we're talking about relationships here, not just a pair of shoes. Those words, loyalty, support, cages. I mean, if that's not discussing what it's like for how a female reacts in a relationship, I really don't know what else would Miss Kellogg would be talking about.
Or many situations, like even there's kind of a double meaning where it says that the soles are grayed and scarred, and it's SOLES, which is like the bottom of a shoe. But it could also, if you're just reading it without reading like how it's spelled, it could mean the soul of the person in a sense too.
It even says in parentheses, hers and the shoes.
Yes.
Right after that. So
right after
her
that.
soul
So,
and the soul, the shoes.
which is very explicit. That's very intentional.
Yeah. I mean, it almost doesn't even need to be said because on the way that this poet does that all the way through, you almost don't even need to have that because you're like, of course, her soul. What else?
Yep.
Really well done.
It's such a struggle of just trying to exist, even in a relationship or outside of one, because she's trying to fit all these molds that are being put onto her that she's having to fit into, like shoes, and everything is telling of what type of character this person has, because the very end is like, you can tell what kind of woman she is based on the fact that she goes through all these things. She fits these different molds, and she carries all this within her, just so everything around her stays stable, pretty much.
Yeah, the enjambment that this poet uses is actually, I was surprised there weren't more line breaks, right? Where it says every strike. I would have imagined the use of having a line break right there could also signify something important. But because the author doesn't use a line break right where there's strike, we're not led to read too much into it. But that's a really strong word. And again, I hear relationship and I hear the word strike. You know, I almost hear a sound of like abuse. And I'm not saying that's what this poem is about, but that intention of that word. It says, with every strike of the ground. Something about that, you can hear a sound, but there seems like there's so much more to that. I don't know because I am not the poet.
Yeah.
And because there isn't that use of a line break, I can't imagine that being something we're supposed to read into. But for some reason, that word stuck out to me, and it's just a question for the author.
Yeah. The to like kind of pair it off of your what stuck out. Man, this poem really struck me as a really heavy piece of adaptability, because within the last 4 lines, I'm trying to read it here really quickly. And when two things don't fit, one has to bend, and you know it's not going to be the shoes, and you can tell that they're breaking her in, which is basically, there's that adaptability of, you know, when nothing else is going to change, I have to myself. And so it's these events, these shoes, which could be metaphorical for events of life or anything, are what's breaking her in. But you know what kind of woman she is, because that means she's not giving up. She's only bending, and she's making this work, which is it's such a really just heavy end to this poem. It's so good.
Right. And then that idea of they're breaking her in, you think of breaking in a pair of shoes, breaking a horse too.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, a wild horse. And that could be saying a lot about who the character is within this poem, somebody who would need to be broken in.
I definitely agree on that, man. Well, thank you, Anastasia Kellogg. We have some other pieces lined up too. This one is by Lily Alski, I believe. It's called The Girl in the Poem, and she's submitted a few times before. She is currently in Japan right now, having a blast as far as I know, I'd imagine, studying abroad. And this one, Lily Alski, The Girl in the Poem.
Many a poet has striven to capture her essence, articulating. She is elegance, a miracle, serenading. Her feet meant for kissing, her hands meant for stroking. The girl in the poem. Soft skin, citrus. Eyes bloom. Candor whispers. Captivating. Stars of freckles. Subtle sway of hips cannot fathom. infectious laughter, cacophony, the girl in the poem, elusive slave of pen and paper, soft skin, citrus, eyes bloom, candor whispers, reality walking among the living, too dead to notice, authentic smiles, wings of her heart ready now, too dead to notice, her soft skin citrus, how her eyes bloom. Her candor whispers, the girl in the poem, bound by abandoned sentiments, unvoiced adoration, trammeled, stars of freckles, worshipped and unknown, beside you, meant for kissing and stroking, the girl in the poem, mundane, enigmatic.
That was a poem by Lily Alski, The Girl in the Poem. I remember reading that a while back, and when I was going through like pieces to look at and stuff that we were putting on the show, and I was like, this is going to be a fun piece to read. Man, I see, when I read this poem, I see almost like two really distinct layers. So there's obviously like that first impression almost, because everything is on the surface: soft skin, eyes bloom, candor whispers, the things that first hit you: talking, seeing, smelling. And it kind of idolizes the girl, I would say. Her feet meant for kissing, her hands meant for stroking, the girl in the poem. It's like this ideal, this person that we see as like, oh, you're just the epitome of everything. But then halfway through it, the descriptions start to change just a little bit. So not even what the words are saying, just how they're saying it starts to kind of decay is probably the best word for it. Subtle sway of hips, cannot fathom, infectious laughter, which we see infectious laughter is like this, oh, it's all great, but there's also kind of a little bit of a twist in that terminology. And then it goes down to the next one and says, elusive slave of pen and paper. It's you're the slave of what's being written about you almost, or what's being imposed upon you and inscribed in some sense. And then it repeats again the sense and the senses, and then kind of gets to this point where it says, wings of her heart ready now, like she's departing from this idea, basically, like there's a separation. Reality walking among the living, too dead to notice. You can't even see that she's there because you're seeing something else inside of her, or putting something else on top of her. You can't even see the girl in the poem because it's not her. There's someone totally different. And then at the very end, it just says, I'm mundane, I'm enigmatic, I'm normal. Why are you putting these things on me? Worshipped and unknown, I'm right beside you. You don't even see me. It's such a good piece.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great rundown of this poem. A lot of the use of different types of images here in words, I love. I love this word, citrus, bloom, and let's see.
Yeah.
I know. So I imagine here, when I hear citrus and bloom, I have two senses that kick in for me. Citrus, obviously, that bright flavor, that taste, that brightness. There's something about brightness about it. And then we have bloom. And I have this, when I hear citrus and bloom, I think obviously of an orange tree blooming.
Yeah.
I love that smell. And there's something very sensual about that. For some, in spring we have Twitter-pated. You get all Twitter-pated when you think of trees in bloom. And so there's actually a kind of a hypersexuality in this without realizing it. Stars of freckles. I love that line. This idea of how just set they are. There's something about the stars of freckles just glittering on her face also. Just really, really well done with those lines in that line.
And it's so well put together too, because that's generally how I would say girls in poetry or girls in media are portrayed. Because girl in poetry is there's a small leap that you have to go to say girl in media, but I mean, I think the connection is there because that's the first initial thing we see. We see that kind of perpetuation. I think you said, I forget your word already. I'm sorry. I'm trying to read the poem at the same time, and sometimes I get off track. But yeah, that's that first immediate impression. There's all these just floods of senses, and also citrus and eyes bloom. That's kind of like a fresh, instant reaction, and that's kind of what she's saying here. Like, this first initial reaction to me that you see is not me. It's not me at all. Like, you see all these things, you're putting all these things on me, but it's not it. I'm totally different. Like, there's a change. There's a separation, and no one's recognizing that because they're seeing these first things that you just talked about. Those are the first very impressionable things that pop out.
Yeah, you also mentioned the word change, and it's seasonal. You know what I mean? Like seasonal, sorry, age. When these flowers and these trees bloom in spring, it's so short. It's just such a quick. It goes from at least here in Chico, it's a quick change that goes from these beautiful bright bloom and this essence, but it's so fleeting. This idea of this person is actually fleeting. It will not last because looks don't last, and the things that they're looking at here. And when you talk about, again, change, or as they grow older, what was the word you used?
No, I don't remember. I'm sorry.
It's okay. We're both like, I think this poem has both caught us off in just kind of our own way of thinking about. We have this vision in our head of what this person looks like between the freckles and this brightness and stuff. But again, it's very fleeting, and it starts to age over time. It doesn't last when we talk about these looks. And I don't know. Again, this. Such a really good poem. I do really enjoy this one. I get kind of a little bit lost in it.
Yeah, the last part, I was just looking at it while we're flipping through the page here. So if I had to give another rundown of this, it kind of starts out as like a misconception, saying I'm different. But then the ending, to me, is really the telling part in this, because it says the terminology and how she puts these words together. It's the same as the girl in the poem, the first start, the first impression, and also the same as the after. So the actual girl, like, no, look at me for who I am. But they're combined. Trammeled stars of freckles. When I see that, it says you're trammeling on, or like you're basically riding roughshod over the beauty that I already have. And stars of freckles, when I picture that, is like there's a wellspring or a depth or like a universe of character within this person. And it's basically saying, like, you've abandoned all these sentiments. There's unvoiced adoration. Like, I am here. I'm a human, and I'm capable of so much. And this is all you're impressing upon me. You're limiting me in this. Like, I have so much more in this. I'm worshipped, but no one knows who I am. I'm completely anonymous. I'm meant for this. I'm meant for that. Meant for kissing and stroking this girl in the poem because I am her. But what you're putting on me is not enough. I'm mundane and enigmatic. I'm both these things. I'm all these things. Why are you not recognizing any of that? You're limiting me to this small, tiny bit. And so the end just feels so much more broad than all of it. There's like the limiting factor here and limiting factor there, and the end is like, no, this is who I am. I have so much inside of me. So yeah.
Very good. I like it.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right,
we'll stop talking about these because we could go on for at least a couple hours.
All right. Yeah, right.
We do have a time constraint, I suppose. I don't think we mentioned that. 7:30 is our time slot, so it's not always easy to keep those constricted. So this last piece is by Alyssa. I believe she is going to Japan as well, studying with Lily abroad. So I would also imagine she's having quite a blast, but I'm only going to guess on that. This piece is untitled, and it's by Alyssa. All the people that pass me by, humming songs that can't be heard, dancing in ways that can't be seen, just far enough where I can't touch them. But where I can almost taste the words flowing from their mind, I realize as I stand among the masses, lost in the sea of people, that I too am humming in ways that can't be heard, dancing in ways that can't be seen. I am just as untouchable. I exist in ways no one can understand, just the same as I cannot understand everyone. But that is why we are beautiful. I am still able to feel the warmth radiating through the crowd, embracing me softly. That was a piece by Alyssa.
All
It
right.
was untitled. Man, I like that one a lot.
She's done another poem I believe we've read from her, correct?
I think she was on last show, I believe, yeah.
Great, yeah. I think I've noticed traits with her where she doesn't have grounding information that we hold on to. She keeps us in the air, if that makes any sense. There's this really great moment where she sees the crowd and becomes the crowd, and she's something else. I say she, I don't know who the name of the, I don't know the author, or not the author, sorry, the narrator. I say
Right.
she, I apologize for that. And lost in a sea of people, and I imagine this floating in the masses, in ways no one can understand, untouchable. Again, we're pulled away, we're not touched, we're not understood, just the same as I cannot understand everyone. I don't know, there's something that I feel very disconnected, and I think that's what she intends to do with her poetry, without creating certain things like tangible sensory things like smells and tastes, like the last one we had. And I think that's the way in which she intends to write her poetry.
Oh, man, I think I would take that slightly in a different direction.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
tell me.
which is cool. I like this. I like different things because to me, she has this first part where it says, all the people pass me by, humming songs that can't be heard. She's just kind of on the sidelines, almost watching these things happen. She can almost taste them, but she can't quite grasp the senses.
Yes.
She doesn't see it there. And then it boils down. There's all these, the lines have maybe 6 or 7 words a piece in them. And then in the middle of the poem, kind of towards the end, it just says, I exist. And to me, that's like a root right there. So if you look at the poem just kind of visually, it kind of boils down, and then all of a sudden there's this one hard fact, I exist. That's where the tangibility comes from. That's where that draws you in and reorients you. Sometimes words are hard. In ways no one can understand. So she says, I exist, but this is still unfathomable. It's still hard for me to grasp. And that's the best part of this. I can't understand everyone, but that's why they're beautiful, because they're a mystery. They're an exploration. They're something I can delve into. I can still feel warm around them, radiating through the crowd. Even though I'm not completely connected with them, they're embracing me in so many ways, because I am among them. I am in this crowd. I am part of this. And that correlation of just like, I don't understand, but that's okay. Like, that's the best part of this. Let me just root myself back down into that, because that's what's necessary. That's what's so beautiful about this. So yeah, I like this piece a lot.
I kind of like that you mentioned that, I don't know, that sometimes the word I don't know can be very overwhelming. I don't know the answer, but there's also, I don't know. And
Right.
the way I think she uses her I don't know in this is that, I don't know, a very nice, relaxing, I don't know kind of feel, and almost letting the crowd take her away. And it's okay not to know. And I do. I enjoy that.
Becomes part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so neat. I love, okay, I had to stay on track here because I could keep talking about all of these. Usually what we like to do towards the end of our episodes is kind of look at the pieces that are on there and then see if there's any things that kind of match, or if there's things that stand out among them. And
identity on this one for sure.
yes.
As a female, and I guess my instinct was to say female. I would say anybody in a crowd for
Yeah.
Alyssa's.
I see kind of like a pyramid for this, and not in necessarily a hierarchical standard, but
Yeah.
just the organization. So we have Lily's, who is talking about someone, a person who's being misperceived, like no one is seeing me as this, like see me as more because I am more.
Yeah.
And then we look at Kellogg's, who she's saying, I am everything. I can make this work. I'm going to make this work. I am able to push. I'm able to understand this. And things will change me, but that is because I am I'm letting them change me to make this an adaptable situation for me. I am stronger than this, and you know what kind of woman that is, or she is. And then the very so that would form the base of the pyramid, and then the top of this pyramid, I would say, would be Alyssa's, because it's the overarching connection. Like if maybe these this is bear with me, this gets kind of cool in my mind. Say Lily's and Anastasia Kellogg's were two people talking. Alyssa's is standing next to them, watching them, trying to figure out what's going on in their minds, but she can't quite grasp it.
Yes.
So she's looking at them going, wow, that's very interesting. But then the closer she gets and the more she kind of recognizes that, the happier she is and the more she's able to see the humanity in both these people, the things that make them strong and that make them even weak at the same time. Like there's that whole blend of everything. So Alyssa's is kind of that unifying, overarching tip of the pyramid, I suppose, not the base, but the top, that sees both of these and is happy holding them together in some senses. So it's just, yeah, I was really excited when these were coming together because I knew the direction I wanted to take it, and they just fit together so well. It's such, thank you guys for submitting this. It's so cool.
Yeah, those all did come together without, I think, realizing it. That's what I love about this program.
Yes.
It's really great.
Well, I think that's going to be right around the end of our show, so I wanted to do a couple more plugs. If you want to submit and be part of this, which you should, because why not, you can contact us at write.onair@gmail.com, and that is
WRITE
yes.
onair@gmail.com. Please,
Yes.
we'd love to read your work.
We air every other Wednesday, 7 o'clock to 7:30, I believe, and Writing on Air is made possible by the generous contributions of KZFR supporters and by Harrison Daily Wright Accountancy, Corporation in Chico. Harrison Daily Wright provides certified public accountants specializing in accounting, bookkeeping services, auditing, tax preparation, and planning, management support, services for nonprofit organizations, and more. To reach Harrison Daily Wright, call 895-1209. So again, this is Writing on Air, and I am Kevin, and this is...
And I'm Kylene.
We hope you all have a good night, and please do submit. All right, catch you all later.
Have a very good evening.